You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. Why I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know what's coming to the sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches, won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy, Brandon Combs. Having some technical difficulties over here with my mic. I went to go adjust it. And when I went to go adjust it, the whole thing popped out of its little holder here. So it's kind of a little low right now. But at any rate, we're going to have a great show for you tonight. No Buck. No Tori. So, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the college kid himself, Mr. Packer, Wyatt frickin' Williams. How's it going, brother?
It's good, man. It is. It's a lot. I'm a little out of energy and tired today. But you know what? We're gonna push through the show, and we're gonna have a great show. But man, all the sportscasting kids got together today. We played a round of golf, in which I did see my first ever wild alligator today. Nikki was my caddy for the day, and she heard a loud pop, like a gator smacking its mouth closed. You know how that sound they make?
Yeah.
And she walks over to the water bank and it's sitting there eating a turtle. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my!
Literally,
God.
right in front of us.
So really, an alligator was sitting there. Was it big?
It's huge. It was huge. Like I'm gonna say. The smallest alligator, I mean, we saw a couple of babies, but like I'm gonna say the average alligator we saw today was probably like 6 feet long. We saw there's probably one that was like 9 feet, maybe. There was some big ones at this golf course.
Have you run into any snakes yet?
Yeah, we did today too. There was a ton. There was a couple of them. We had a snake that was right by our cart. Actually, we pulled up next to it.
Down the golf course, and I would have moved back home right then and there.
They're everywhere. Do you like lizards?
I don't mind lizards.
Lizards are everywhere here, dude.
I don't mind any reptiles. I don't mind other lizards. I don't mind
snakes.
Like bearded dragons.
I hate snakes.
I don't do snakes, man.
I hate them.
Don't.
I do.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't get out and touch it or anything. I mean, I'll get up and look at it and stuff, but I won't.
No,
touch
I
it.
won't even do that. The one time, I had this property in Vermont where we had like an acre of flat land, and there was a hill that would lead to the flat land. And me and Brandon Jr. were walking down there one day. He was like 11. And this garden snake, yeah, I said it. The ones that don't bite and the ones that are like yay big, came slithering out in front of us. I pushed Brandon Jr. towards the snake and I ran. I don't do snakes, man.
Dude, you would have hated this today. Then I hit a ball and the course kind of dog legs right. It carries right, and it was like a par 4 par. I think it was a par 4. This hole was, and I crushed my drive, but I slice it. But on this hole, it's a good thing to slice because it kind of carries out to the right with the hole. But I got too close to the lake, and it starts bouncing, and it lands like next to the lake. So I'm getting ready for my second shot, and I'm standing right next to this lake the whole time, and all I can think about is, dude, an alligator is about ready to nap me, like pop, and it's over. Like dude. I'm sitting here, and I'm getting ready to hit it. I'm probably like, I don't know, 150 yards from the green. It was a good drive. I just sliced it and got it too close to the water. But I looked down and saw I was kind of praying as I was walking up, like, can that please? That was way close. Can that just get in the water? Like, I'm fine losing this ball. And then I get up and I see it, and I'm like, oh, Lord. Oh, God. So I walk down to the bank, and I'm like a foot from the water.
Why didn't you just take a drop shot?
Because it's cost a stroke. I'm not doing that.
Wyatt, did you guys bet money?
No, I'm really competitive.
Right. Did you shoot under 100?
I did.
How many holes did you play?
9.
Okay, all right, perfect.
I shot under 50 though. I did. I was like a 49 today. I was just under 50. So
that's not bad.
At 18, I would have still been under 100.
That's awesome.
But man, I walked out of that water and I was looking at that ball and I was ready to hit it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just waiting. There's going to be a 9-foot alligator and I'm ready to go swimming. And I was like, I do not want to wrestle an alligator today. That's just, you could tell now I'm in my top peak physical condition. But I just alligator wrestling starts next month, not this month. So I wasn't down today.
Speaking of top peak physical condition, you tell me after, I just worked, I still got 2 days to go. And I've got 87 hours in the last 2 weeks. And I still got 2 days to go. So I'm probably going to be about 110 working hours. You went and played golf and football with your friends, and you're tired.
Well, I did some schoolwork, too, a little bit this morning. But
okay. All right. Yeah, I got you.
A little schoolwork, a little golf, a little football. It was an off day today.
So what's been your biggest adjustment so far, bud?
Biggest adjustment, I would say on the financial department, not having mom and dad so close and stuff, and my nana too. I mean, yeah, you can send money and stuff, but I don't know, just not having and having to cook too. That's like having to cook every meal and pay for it and stuff. I don't know. There's a lot, honestly. I would say the biggest adjustment though. Probably school, honestly. It's high school was kind of tough, at times, but not really. It was pretty easy. Yeah. Where college, man, I get beat sometimes. It's I have a professor, English composition. He's a really good guy, but man, he just tacks the essays on us. As soon as I get off the show tonight, I've got to write 3 paragraphs right off the bat for tomorrow. So it's just there is a heavy workload, and especially on days where we have school. Or days we have school, we go from 1 to 5, and they give us little 10-minute breaks in between every hour. So we get ultimately it's 30 minutes. So
yep.
But we get little breaks here and there, but the breaks are so short, and then it's right back to the work. It's bam, hit you right in the face again. Then you go home, and you got to balance cooking food, studying, getting all that homework done. I procrastinated a lot in high school, and I knew that coming into this. So now that I've got to, my biggest job being spoiled 100%. I think I would say that's probably the biggest adjustments at school. Cause like I said, you come home, have to balance all that stuff. And then, but we're figuring out, we're managing slowly. It's taking some time, but we're getting there. And like I said, I procrastinated a lot in high school, and I kind of, now that I'm in college, I get a fresh start. So I wanted to get off on the right foot. So I've been doing a lot of if something's due tomorrow, instead of waiting till tomorrow to do it, I find 10 minutes here to work on it, 10 minutes there to work on it, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes later on in the day. And then eventually either you get it done, or tomorrow I only have 1/3 of an essay to write. You know what I mean? So
right.
I've kind of stayed ahead of the 8 ball on certain things and done a really good job of that.
There you go. So you've been, how long you been there now? 2 months?
Yeah.
So
coming up on,
I mean, look,
as a whole, I've do what?
Go ahead.
As a whole, I've been down here for 2 months. I've been in school for a month and a half.
Okay.
So I was down here for 2 weeks before.
When I first got on my own, getting in the Marine Corps, and you're on your own, you don't have mom or dad, nobody can tell you what to do. You go and do some crazy stuff. And you do some stuff you normally wouldn't do.
Right.
Give me one of those stories, Wyatt. Give me your best college kid crazy story so far.
Best college kid crazy story.
And Nana hasn't checked in yet,
and mom
so she's
and dad
not watching.
Huh?
Nana hasn't checked in yet, so I don't think she's watching. So
the problem is this is subject to rewatch. They can rewatch this.
It is,
so
and I probably will email them and tell them that they need to watch this part of the show.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna keep it PG.
No. That's not how we do it on the Man Hour.
I would say the craziest thing I've done so far is probably swim in alligator infested water. That's probably the craziest thing I've done.
That is, dude, you are nuts.
I did.
Are you trying to get eaten by an alligator?
I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about just stuff like that, but it's so much fun.
Dude,
while yes, it is a little dangerous, at the same time, like the reward you get at the end when you get out and you did it and you had fun, it's so rewarding.
But no, Wyatt. I once saw a video of a bear walking around a pond, and an alligator comes out and drags the bear into the pond and kills it and eats it. Are you telling me that you're stronger than a bear?
I think so. I'm sorry. I mean, judging on how the Bears look every year, the Chicago Bears, I mean, I figure.
Well, I'm not talking about the Chicago Bears because that's not much of a meal.
Okay. I didn't know. We got in these rafts and stuff, and there's like a naturally occurring river and stuff in this area. And for a school project, we had to get outside. It was called a digital detox. You had to put your phone down for an hour, it was for 2 hours. And you had to write, you had to test your senses. You had to write 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you smell, 2 things you taste, 1 thing you taste and 2 things you feel.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's what we did. We went to this little thing, me, Nikki, and 2 friends, and we got right in there with them. We had rafts and everything.
He's like, all right, so 1 thing I taste, okay, it's blood. One thing I feel, that's something pain. Sharp running through me. Oh my God, it's a gator. What the hell were you thinking?
Something I feel. Well, a gator just bit my leg off. Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, I feel lots of sharp pain.
Yeah.
So, the waffle merch is here, people. Wyatt, have you seen this yet?
I have not seen it yet.
So, we've got 2 choices for you here, okay? And one was created by me, and Buck said he wasn't feeling it. The other one was created by Buck. I'll let you decide. I'm not going to tell you which one.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm ultimately picking which one's better here, and this is the one that's going to go on the shop?
Here's the first one. It is.
Okay.
Here's the first one.
Okay.
All right.
That one's created by you. I already know that.
Are you sure?
I'm almost positive. Wait, let me see the second one first. Here's
the second one. It's actually got your real hair on there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So that one's you because you just called it kind of cool.
I didn't say that. The other, I
don't know, honestly. Yeah, I saw the Johnny Bravo, and I know you've made that connection before. I've heard you say that before. So that's why I kind of thought that was you.
Well, don't try to figure out whose is whose. Just try to figure out which one do you like better.
Okay, you're right. Let me see one more time.
All right.
Okay, so there's that one. There's that one.
Which one would you rather wear on a t-shirt?
That one. Hashtag. Ooh, the other one's got the hashtag in it, though. I think that kind of...
Exactly.
And it's my real hair. That's true. The Johnny Bravo one is kind of tough, though. Not going to lie. I think that's kind of dope. All right. I didn't think I'd do it. I'm going Johnny Bravo. I'm sorry. I just...
Yeah, hey, that's cool. Fine. That's fine. That is the one that Buck created.
Yeah. The other one is super cool. Yeah. I like both. I love both of them. But I think Buck needs at least add hashtag
in there. I figure you get your real hair, the real actual Wyatt do in there. But,
exactly. I do like that.
Yeah. So
I like the animated one though. That's cool because the whole if it was my real hair, but you took you can go into Apple Edit or whatever and do the animated, take a real picture and it'll make it look animated. If it was that, I would probably choose the second one.
If it was animated?
I just think the whole thing being edited together is dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way though, they're both awesome. And I'm not trying, I feel bad now because it's either way I'm going to say no to one and say yes to one.
I actually liked the one that Buck created too. I really did. I didn't like the way that the one with your hair really came out because I felt like it wasn't big enough. It really didn't give it the effect that I thought that it would. So I wasn't as high on it as I was Buck's either. So I'm not going to get you there. So we're going to get into, we also, the Beastie merch is dropping. I don't know, Wyatt, you've been gone, so you might not have heard this story.
What happened with B? So I've heard them say it.
Yeah.
Beastie BC Combs, but I need to hear the story.
One of the girls at work, Liz, has become a big fan of the show. She's bought the merch. She's wearing stuff at work.
Nice.
Actually, a lot of the girls
I appreciate
at work
it.
have actually, a lot of people at work have come to me and said that they watched the show and they like the show. But Liz talks to me about it every day. And so she's throwing out ideas. Hey, you guys should talk about this tonight, or you should talk about that tonight. And we're in the middle of meetings too, like just in the middle of meetings. And she's just like, hey, you should talk about. But so she really likes the show. And she came to me one day and she messages me and she goes, so what's up with your radio nickname? I said, what radio nickname? And I know that Buck always called me BC, but I never thought it was a nickname. It was just BC as my initials.
Yeah.
And she goes, Beastie. I'm like, Beastie? I said, nobody calls me Beastie. She goes, yeah, every night they introduce you. They go, Brandon Beastie Combs. I said, Liz, it's BC, you know my initials? And she was like, oh, that makes sense. So,
dude, if only you were like a fan of a team with a B in it, we could make like your logo could be like say, okay, let's say you were a Red Sox fan. It could be like the Red Sox B and then the Cubs C or the Bears C.
Yeah, I like that.
That would be cool.
So with the Beastie stuff, I came up with this one.
There we go.
I kind of liked that one, but it wasn't my best work. I just, kind of threw something together on a whim.
It's creative.
This is the one that Buck came up with. Why? Yeah. So
I'm gonna choose yours on that one.
Well, Buck ran with his, and that's the Beastie merch that is dropping.
No, it's not.
That is the
I need
Beastie
one.
merch. You can go ahead and get. I'm getting one too.
With the good and the bad conscience sitting across each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks like, go back, show it again. It looks like Larry the Cable with a halo and horns. Like Larry the Cable guy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Team Dad Bod, apparently. Team Dad Bod.
Team Dad Bod. I love it.
Oh.
That's awesome.
All right, but before we get to our first break, we've got the NL wild card going on right now. Actually, they're in the first inning. Cardinals have runners on first and second with nobody out. Well, one out now as they just caught a ball down the line. But it is Adam Wainwright versus Max Scherzer. Who do you think pitches deeper into this game tonight?
I'll say Scherzer because I feel like he has the capabilities of doing that because his bullpen is a little deeper, so he can afford they can afford to send Scherzer out there longer.
Yeah. You know what? I said that too. I think that he will go deeper. And
Scherzer's just a unit too.
Yeah. And I think he will go deeper, but I still think that this is going to be a tight 0-0 or 1-0 game late, and it's going to come down to the bullpens. And I like how scrappy the Cardinals are. I really do. And I picked the Cardinals to win this game. So
it pains me because if they're going to start a run, they have to. Of course, they have to win this one. But if they actually could start a run here, because if they knock out the Dodgers, that's, in my opinion, that's the best team out there right now. So you automatically knock them out because they're not going to beat the Dodgers in 7. So if you're going to beat the Dodgers, you got to beat them in 1.
Yeah, and you're gonna. I think they beat the Dodgers tonight. I think they beat the Giants. I think they take care of the 106 and 107 win teams.
I could see it.
And then go on to the NLCS before I have the Atlanta Braves beating them in the NLCS. So
what happened to the Padres?
Dude, they just disappeared. They fired their manager.
You've got Tatis, you've got Machado, you've got Darvish, arguably one of the best bullpens in baseball, and you still find a way not to make the playoffs?
That was their downfall, though, was their rotation. Their rotation was, after Darvish, nobody really performed this year. They had a bunch of injuries. They couldn't stay healthy, so it was down.
There was so much hype coming in this season about them.
No, absolutely. So, all right, guys, we got a great show lined up for you. We are going to talk about my Chicago Bears. They did name Justin Fields the starter for the remainder of the season. Was that Matt Nagy's decision? Find out. Stay with us here. We will be right back. Back. It's your boy BC Beastie Brandon Combs and the Wyatt Williams. Wyatt, man, you know what? We have a special guest here. Joins us every Wednesday. He is a Toronto Blue Jays fan, so I was really rooting for his Blue Jays to get into the playoffs. They missed, but we can both be happy that the Yankees got their butts whipped last night. So let's welcome on Graham Wallace. What is going on, buddy?
Hey, Combs. Great to be with you. Nice to be with you as well, Wyatt.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, I'm a little sore, a little sad still about my Blue Jays not getting in, but I feel like the future's bright. We just needed one of those guys to lose. And
is that a Wayne's World hat? I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it is
the most incredible thing I've seen in my entire life.
Oh, thank you, man.
That's one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, it's definitely in my top 5, and
that's awesome.
It's a rare kind of time that I could use it. I don't want to wear my Blue Jays hat right now. I'm still kind of sad. It's not. Hey,
look at us Cubs fans, man. Look, we really had to suffer through it this year, and we were representing.
Yeah,
I don't even know who's on that team yet. Frank Schwindel.
Neither do we. Neither do we.
Well, I do.
That's okay.
Wyatt doesn't. But no, the Blue Jays, they were a really good, solid team. They've got a bright future ahead of them. The Yankees, were just one game better. The Red Sox were one game better this year. The Yankees did what they always do. They spent a ton of money on pitching that, was bargain basement pitching at best. And then they got their tails waxed. I mean, you got to admit that Garrett Cole is probably the most overrated pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you think about he's 34 million, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, we got Robbie Ray for $8 million. And for my money, he's the American League Cy Young Award winner. I'm really hoping we could retain him, but tremendous value. And it's really interesting. He was the first free agent of any team to sign. He decided to come back after we acquired him in a trade in 2020. So just a great value. And then if you think about Semien, $18 million deal, that was a great value as well. I'm hoping we could get both these guys back and run it back. Let's go.
I think you and I should get together on a baseball show. We run a man-hour baseball spinoff or something,
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of trying to track
times you've been
some
on
of
here, we talk baseball.
Yeah, we talk baseball all the time, and I think this offseason is going to be a lot of fun, actually. I think there's going to be a lot of moving parts. I'm kind of putting together a piece right now, kind of what the Jays should do in the offseason. So
are you a baseball nerd like I am? Like after the Super Bowl's over, like your TV just stays on MLB Network and you kind of watch the offseason?
Oh, gosh.
The season?
I don't have MLB Network. Don't at me. I read a lot of the articles and stuff like that, though. But I'm tuned in basically November to whatever the end of February to free agency, winter meetings, and all that. I mean, I'm still watching football and basketball and all that stuff. But
right.
I'm a nerd. Yeah, you got me pegged.
All right, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so we are here to talk about your we'll call them power rankings. I looked at them. I don't know if I really am happy with your top five.
Okay. I promise I won't yell at you tonight, Combs. I got that out of the way last week.
Oh God, was there yelling last week? Did I miss this?
I think you kind of went Homer-ish at number one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna give that away a little bit.
I've got a bit of a stat to back myself up, but I get it.
I've got a better stat to tell you you're wrong.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's cool. That's why we do this. I understand what you're saying. I'm really happy with my rankings, but hey, this is what it's all about. It's all about chopping it up, having a conversation, and I can't wait to get to them.
All right, so let's tell the people. So you're at 32, you had the Jags. At 31, you had the Lions. At 30, you had the Texans. 29, you had the Jets. 28, you had the Dolphins. 27, the New York Giants. 26, the Atlanta Falcons. 25, the Philadelphia Eagles. 24, the Pittsburgh Steelers. 23, the Indianapolis Colts. 22, the Minnesota Vikings. 21, the New England Patriots. At number 20, my Chicago Bears. At number 19, the Washington NRA, the not Redskins anymore. Shut up, Wyatt. At number 18, you had the New Orleans Saints. At number 17, you had the Tennessee Titans. At number 16, and this was a shocker to me, at number 16, you had the Carolina Panthers, the 3-1 Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Below the Denver Broncos, a spot below the Denver Broncos, a spot below the San Francisco 40, or two spots below San Francisco 49ers. They're below the Seattle Seahawks, who you had at 13, the Bengals at 12, and the Chiefs at 11. And then we'll go over your top 10 here in a minute. But let's talk about why you have the 3-1 Panthers behind three teams that aren't 3-1.
Yeah, I kind of struggled with this, guys, honestly. I had them at, I believe, 14 last week. I didn't want to kill them for losing to the Cowboys, but, I mean, they gave up a lot of points and a lot of yards in that game, and their defense is what I've been so impressed with throughout the first few weeks of the season. I still think they could be in there for a wild card or something like that. And I like the direction this team's going, especially with the acquisition of Stephon Gilmore. I can't let that go without talking about that. It is huge. I think that's really going to improve their secondary.
And only for a sixth-round pick, too. That was pretty cheap for him.
Tremendous value, yeah. I don't know if the Patriots asked for more or how much of a negotiation there was there, but I've kind of talked about this a few times. A lot of times after the first 12 or 13 teams, there's a bit of a bunch of teams kind of mixed in together. Yep. I considered maybe having them stay at 14 or maybe having them be above the Broncos. We obviously Bridgewater went down. Denver's quarterback situation is very shaky.
And
even with him, I think, but especially without him.
And Carolina's wins aren't versus the two New Jersey teams and the Jacksonville Jaguars like the Denver Broncos are.
It's true.
No, the win against the Saints was really impressive. You know what? You got me last week with one of my selections, and it really made me think about it. I do try to put some thought into this, but I'm willing to concede I could possibly have them at 13 or 14 there.
Yeah.
Especially,
I agree. Not only that, but they lost. The CMC didn't play, and they only lost to the Cowboys by 8 points. They still put up 28 against the Dallas Cowboys. They were still competitive in that game. They still played with them. So that was the one that caught my eye in your bottom part of your rankings there. But let's go ahead and let's get to number 10. Who do you got at number 10?
Number 10, I got the Las Vegas Raiders. I moved them down 4 spots. There were 6 last week, I should say. They kind of took it on the chin on Monday night against the Chargers. It was a really interesting game. I'm not sure how much of this game you guys saw. I'm guessing probably most of it. Yeah. It was a really weird game because finally we get to see this beautiful stadium in Los Angeles, but it was a lot of Raiders fans.
In a
Chargers
lightning
fans,
delay?
The lightning delay was really weird.
And with a rooftop stadium.
But, guys, listen, stop. It is 2021, okay? They've got a translucent roof. Maybe it identifies as an open field stadium.
Okay. Is this an identity thing? Okay. That's fine.
I
didn't tune in until about 8:45. I was a little bit late tuning in, and then it still wasn't even started yet. And I'm like, what's going on here? And they talked about the commentating crew was on the field and all that stuff. And so a little bit of a later night for me on Monday for sure. But the Chargers fans definitely made themselves known and made themselves loud. But it definitely was kind of a half and half crowd, maybe even 60-40 Raiders. But I just didn't see the same. They didn't look as sharp as they did the first few weeks. Obviously, they only put up 14 points.
I agree.
Chargers defense really kind of held them in check for most of the night. So
they really, in my opinion, they really only look good for the third quarter. I mean, I thought it was really bad first and second, but they've been that way all year. And then, they've normally had that spark every time they're at the third quarter and they continue it. But they got going for a little bit and they had the chance to tie it. And once they didn't tie it, I kind of was like, okay, I think this is kind of the point where the Chargers roll them.
Yeah.
And which they ended up doing. But I wasn't impressed with, other than that little spark in the third quarter. I just didn't see the same team we saw for the last couple of weeks, especially not against the Ravens.
That's what Joey Bosa said too.
Yeah, it was a bit of I wouldn't say a surprise because we were all kind of waiting for this to happen. I mean, Raiders have had hot starts the last couple of years and they've kind of come back to earth. Yeah. So this wasn't necessarily a huge surprise. Chargers defense looks really good. Mm-hmm. So I had to move them down. I thought 4 spots was reasonable. We talked to him about them a little bit earlier. Sorry, I don't know if you want to drive this, Combs, but I'm going to move on to number 9.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, we talked to him about a little bit earlier. I definitely considered bumping them up a little bit more than I did, but I got the Dallas Cowboys there at number 9.
I don't have a problem with the Cowboys down at 9. I kind of like them there right now just because they're still one of those teams where they feel like a week-to-week type team, right? To me, they're a lot like, even though they have a better record right now, they're a lot like the New Orleans Saints, where it's almost like they're looking for their identity. Right. And that's where I think the Saints are. That's where I think the Cowboys are right now, too. They've played kind of a soft schedule, but they're 3-1, and they're not a horrible team. They've got Dak Prescott, who I think could be an MVP type quarterback. Before Monday night, I had Derek Carr probably leading that category. That he probably took a step back from that, after that performance. But I don't have a problem with the Cowboys here at 9. Who do you have at number 8?
Okay, so number 8. They definitely took a bit of a spill this week is the Los Angeles Rams. I was very surprised. Ooh. Yeah, they went from 1 to 8. So it's a pretty big drop, but I mean, they lost this game, guys, by 17 points at home.
I think the Cardinals were good.
Yeah. And I think my rankings reflect that. No spoilers, but I'm really impressed by this Cardinals team, and I didn't think I'd say this, but their defense is really flying around out there. They made Stafford look average. Kyler Murray, I'm going to keep hammering this home. He's my MVP through 4 games.
He's my new MVP too.
Oh, okay.
I think he kind of has to be. They always choose a flashy quarterback. I was talking with some friends about this earlier. Yeah. They always choose a flashy quarterback who's on a good team, and that's literally Mahomes, right now. That is Kyler Murray right there.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week about Derek Carr possibly being the MVP, the lead of the MVP candidate. Obviously before this week happened, but Derek Carr is also one of them quarterbacks who once threw for 5,000 yards and 40+ touchdown, did not get selected to the Pro Bowl.
Through week 3, wasn't he on par for like 7,000 passing yards?
Yeah, it was something crazy.
It's something stupid like that. That's crazy.
That always comes back down to earth, though. It's like the guy who hits 5 home runs in the first week of baseball, and now he's on pace to hit 70, 79 or 85 home runs, and they're always coming back down to earth.
No doubt. Well, with this 17-game season, guys, you're going to see some records get shattered, then there's going to be a bit of a period. Well, is this really better, or is it just the new football, the new NFL? Yeah. We're going to be headed for an 18-game season pretty soon too.
Yeah,
that's coming. So
I'm not. So I wouldn't have dropped the Rams as far as you did, just because it was the Cardinals. We know that's a tough division. It's a divisional loss. Yes, it was a big loss, but for me, I had the Cardinals winning this division. I had the Cardinals sitting at 15-2 this year prior to the season. I'm a big believer in the Cardinals. I thought their defense was going to be as good as it has been so far. Yeah. So I'm not very surprised by the Cardinals. I was the only one in our little group that we do our picks every week that picked the Cardinals to win this game. So I'm not surprised by the Cardinals. So that's why for me, like I kind of took this one in stride. I still think the Rams are obviously a top 5 team in this league. I think you could take 3 teams out of the West to be top 5 teams in this league right now because they're that good. Yeah. That NFC West is so deep and so good.
Well, I mean, when a team's in my top 8, that means I think they're going to be there at least in the divisional round, probably. I have a tough time having that many teams from the same division that high. The main reason I dropped them that far down is the amount of points they lost by, and it was also a home loss. I just think it was a bit of a disappointing, a bit of a flat feeling for that result. So, and also some of the teams I have above them, I just think they're just a little bit better right now.
Well, so let's go ahead and talk to the next team that you got above them, because I know Wyatt's going to want to just talk about this.
Oh, man, come on. Way too low, bro.
Yeah, come on. You know what? I had a bit of a tough time with this, and I kind of submitted it, and I was like, oh, crap. I actually had them dropping 3 spots. But I'm gonna own it. Top 7, that's no disrespect. I don't think.
I like it.
I still think they're a good team. I still think the defense needs to come along. I like what I've seen from Rodgers. The offense is looking fine. The defense is actually looking pretty good as well.
And they just got Jalen Smith.
I said it, but I said it week 1. I'll tell you, everybody is dogging on the Packers once they lost to the Saints. Yeah, especially this guy here, or wrong way, that way. He was all over it and stuff. And I told it, I don't know what it is about the Saints.
Keep saying that
the Saints. You gotta rewatch it. A natural disaster. Every time that there is some kind of a natural disaster, the next team the Saints play, they go crazy on them. Like it doesn't matter what. And it's like. What just happened? I just got punched in the face 3 times.
Calm down. They've beaten the Steelers, who we all pretty much said were going to have a down year, and they beat the Lions. Yes, they had a very good win. They had a very good win against the 49ers. That was a good win, but they blew a 17-0 lead in that game. Don't forget.
They just about lost it. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I don't have a problem with them at 7 at all. If anything, I would probably have them at 8 and have the Rams at 7.
Okay. I don't have them at what?
What do you mean? What?
Wait a second.
The Rams are a 10 times better team than the Green Bay Packers are right now.
I get it that the Packers aren't number 1. I love power rankings. I watch all the power rankings. I actually used to do power rankings a bunch, but I get it. They're not 1, and it's 8.
So you want them at 2?
Combs?
Yeah. Huh? Yes, I would have.
No, I don't have them at 2.
Behind the Rams. You wouldn't have them behind the Rams.
I don't have them top 3. I don't think you can be top 3. After
you have them in the top 5?
Yeah, 100%.
You are out of your mind.
Right, 4 or 5.
You know what?
You're being a homer. You're being a homer.
After I do my power rankings, I take a look around, the media world and see what other people have. Sports Illustrated have the Rams number 1. Still,
but Sports Illustrated.
No
stupid.
way. That's
I know they're
crazy. Why?
mainstream, and that's not what we are. But I'm just throwing
That
it out
right there is for
Yeah.
attention basis only. There is no way
No
that is
doubt.
for anything else.
Yeah. So I'm just like, it may sound crazy, but I'm okay with where I have them. And I know it's a bit of a disagreement here, but that's okay. So going on to number 6, I got the Cleveland Browns. They picked up another win. They haven't really played a lot of really tough teams. I'm actually kind of blanking on who they just beat. Help me out here, guys.
They did demolish the Bears 2 weeks ago. If that
2 weeks ago,
jogs
they beat the
anybody's
Bears,
memory.
but sorry,
They just beat the Vikings 14-7 in Minnesota.
Oh, right. Okay. So the defense looks really good. This was kind of a slugfest. That's why I'm kind of forgetting it, because it was kind of a boring game. But this was a road win. It looked like they weren't going to have anything going offensively. They did enough to win. I had them around this spot before, so I think I kept them around where they were. I moved them up one spot or something like that.
Yeah. I would definitely. I think that's a little high for them for me, just because of their schedule. I would probably have the Packers ahead of them. I would have the Rams ahead of them. But I do love the fact that you have the Browns against the ahead of the Green Bay Packers, because Wyatt's head's about to explode, and I love it.
See, and I'm an avid fan of Baker Mayfield. I've said it all offseason. This was the pop year, even though right now he's kind of starting off slow. But still, I'm a big fan of the Browns. I really enjoy watching them play football. And I do think that they're a top 6 team. I think they're right behind. I would say the Packers right now, if I had to do it, are 5, and I would say they're 6. And I'd probably put the Rams at 4.
Okay, well, that leads me to a question for both of y'all. How about a Canadian saying y'all, eh? Where do you guys...
He said
where
y'all,
do you guys... y'all, eh? Oh, thank God. I was trying to be smooth with it, but I had to make a thing out of it. Where do you guys have the Baltimore Ravens?
See, that's such a weird spot for me, because like they've shown flashes of being really good, but they've also shown flashes where I'm kind of like not impressed with, how they look.
They almost lost to the Lions. I know. That's
Right.
true.
Yeah. Right. Right. That's kind of like the low points. But I mean,
but they beat
I
the
would
Chiefs.
say, yeah,
They did beat the Chiefs.
That was
and a
huge.
comeback too. Yeah.
But they lost to the Raiders.
Hey, do you guys think? I'm not trying to change the subject or anything. I'm just, since we just said it, and we already passed the Chiefs, and I forgot to ask this earlier. Do you guys think the Chiefs are ready to come back to reality and just go crazy again? Right?
Yeah. I was starting the season 0-3, Wyatt, and then finishing 14-3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did say that last week. But
You probably should have put money on that, because right now you look pretty good on that. Well, no, they didn't start at 0-3, but you should have put in there.
If the Browns don't melt down week 1, they're 0-3.
Right. Right.
I don't love the defense
100%.
still. 30 points giving up against the Eagles. That's not a great look.
Yeah.
But I think it'll wake up, like kind of like it did a couple seasons ago in like week 12. It'll start forcing turnovers, getting sacks and stuff like that. But it's going to take a little while to get there, and maybe it won't get there. But I do think they're going to reel off a bunch of wins. Having them stay at 11 was a bit of a struggle for me, but I just need them to show it one more week, and they'll likely move up into the top 10.
That's what I had told Buck this week. I said, look, I had them starting 0-3 and then going 14-3, but I'm really worried about how many points they're giving up. Yes, they beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They still gave up 30 points to the Philadelphia Eagles.
And if they would have just dogged the Eagles too, then I could totally understand like putting them a little higher. But just like you give up that many points to the Eagles, I mean, like Jalen Hurts is a really good playmaker, but is that Eagles offense that good? Like to put up that many points?
Any chance you have to take Buck's ego from here and bring it down here, I'm okay with it.
Well, I mean, that same Eagles team looked really like a disaster against the Cowboys on the previous Monday night.
Yeah.
So it was just a weird thing to see them look so productive and efficient. So so anyways, at 5, I do have the Baltimore Ravens, guys. Maybe I do have them a little higher than you. They've got this funny like running back trio going of guys that if it was like 2017, you'd be like, oh my God, this is like the best fantasy team ever. Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, and Lattimore.
That's because their first 19 running backs went down with an ACL in a matter of 2 weeks.
No,
Dude,
I know.
Their injury report's ridiculous.
But the thing is, these guys don't need any of those 3 to be great, because Lamar Jackson's such a threat back there. They've also got Tyson Williams, and the passing attack has actually kind of come alive the last last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm starting to believe in Lamar as a thrower of the football and not just a running back.
Right.
They took care of Denver. Obviously, that's a lot of people have questions about Denver still. It was in Denver, and it wasn't really
if you went at Mile High.
And they took out Teddy Bridgewater of that game, and Denver did next to nothing after that, or even before that,
because they tried running the same game plan with Drew Lock. They didn't adjust at all. I felt like I was watching. I felt like I was watching Matt Nagy coach the Denver Broncos because they did not adjust at all for the quarterback.
No. Yeah, I kind of like the Ravens more than most. I believe in John Harbaugh. I like the defense, and
I believe
me,
in John Harbaugh
Lamar,
too.
If he could do it in the playoffs for me.
Yeah, I believe in John Harbaugh too. I just I hate the fact that when he's at practice, he's like Oprah. He's like, you get an ACL, and you get an ACL, and you get an ACL. We all get an ACL. That's what John Harbaugh does at practice. Oh God, it was nuts. And then didn't they sign somebody, and then he tore his ACL.
I think they did. Well, I mean, just
I think the situation you're thinking of is.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm done.
Oh, the situation you're thinking of is in the same practice on back-to-back plays, J.K. Dobbins tears his ACL. Very next play, Marcus Peters tears his. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I thought that
because that was a crazy scenario. That was crazy.
After all them guys went down with the ACL, I thought they signed somebody. He came to practice and then he tore his ACL too. It was crazy. I know it was crazy. They had a bunch of people go down with ACLs. It was nuts.
Don't they have 19 people on their IR right now, something like that?
Yeah, it's a
crazy.
Ravens at 5 though. I'm
wild.
I'm okay with Ravens at 5 because I know their potential, and they're 3-1. And I know what they can be, so I'm absolutely fine with the Ravens.
With all the missing pieces, J.K. Dobbins, Marcus Peters, those are two huge pieces. Yeah. With all that, they're still 3-1. That's pretty impressive to me, actually.
All right. So who you got at number 4? Because I'm about to yell at you here in a minute.
Okay.
I'm about to go. We're gonna.
Okay. I mean, I kind of I went off last week, so I guess I deserve at least one. So I almost said San Diego. I got the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
I just say Bolts in my rankings. It always feels like it should be San Diego still. I know it's been a couple years, but they got that weird stadium.
It sounds better. San Diego Chargers. It does sound better.
San Diego Superchargers. You're maybe too young for that, Wyatt, but it used to be some song, I think, when Dan Fouts played or whatever. I'm not that old, but I used to watch a lot of NFL films and stuff. So I just thought it was a really impressive win for them against the Raiders. They're also coming off a win against the Chiefs. If you look at what they've done the last 2 weeks, guys, if they didn't lose that stupid game against the Cowboys in week 2, when there was 4,800 penalties, they'd probably be 4-0. The defense is looking really good. I'm very impressed with Brandon Staley. Justin Herbert, they're calling him a Hall of Famer already, which I think is just stupid. But I don't know. I got them at 4. Come at me.
I have no problem with the Chargers.
I like it.
I
like the Chargers. I like the Chargers at 4.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind you putting them higher. Honest God, maybe 3 would be my highest, but if you flipped them up one more, I wouldn't necessarily be 100% against that.
Yeah, I did think about it here, and I think this is where I'm going to get my punishment. I had these two teams kind of 3 and 4, and maybe I should have put them closer to the top, but I got the Arizona Cardinals at number 3.
You should have put them at the top, Graham. You should have put them at the top. They went into LA and annihilated the best defense in the game right now. And they dominated them in LA. In their home. They went to their home. They knocked on the door. They got in there. Their mom answered the door. They took off their mom's robe and took her to her room. That's what they did. They destroyed these guys in their own home.
Wait up. You guys, you just told me I shouldn't have the Rams dropping so far for losing this game, but then I'm going to elevate them to number 1?
Yes, because of
they're the only undefeated team in football.
Okay.
And not only that, but because of who you have at 1, Graham.
Okay. No spoilers. I mean, these aren't the standings. These are
you're a Bills fan and you got the Bills at 1. Question mark. Is that what we're getting here?
Well, we're getting close.
Did I just put the pieces together?
I think you're figuring things out. But I'm still going to hit you with my super stat, and that might change your mind.
I bet I know what it is.
You know what stat I need?
What's that?
beating the Los Angeles Rams in LA by 17. 4-0.
What did I have them at last week? 8? They moved up 5 spots. That's
you had them
that's
at 8
healthy.
last. Oh man,
I
had
guess
them
I'm
probably
a
at like
slow.
They are.
I would say 2 or 3 last week. They should be 1
Wow.
right now.
Okay, well maybe I'm
They
a little
look
slow
good.
to the party
They
here,
would
guys.
take your Buffalo Bills and they would
No.
make them. They would make them look
Stop
like
it.
little puppy dogs. They would no longer be the Buffalo
No.
Bills. They would be the Buffalo Chihuahuas.
I mean, Bills had them last year, and then the
That was
what do you
last
call
year,
it?
Graham. That was
Dude,
last year,
DeAndre
Graham.
Hopkins.
Hail Murray.
DeAndre Hopkins got me so many points in that game. It was crazy.
Oh, that
God.
broke my heart. But okay, we'll just get to it. Number 2, a lot of people maybe have this team dropping because of some of the injury concerns. Not necessarily a kind of a gutty, tough win Sunday night. The Tampa Bay Bucks. You know what I'm talking about.
The rest of your power rankings don't even matter, Graham. You have the Cardinals at 3. The rest of them don't even matter. Go ahead. Who you got at 1, Graham?
I got the Buffalo Bills, who have beaten the last 3 opponents
By 158 to 21.
128
Oh,
to 21 with 2 shutouts. And you could say, oh, well, they beat Houston, they beat Washington football team, and they beat
Exactly, the Miami Dolphins.
But
were any of those guys the Rams?
well, they're playing the Chiefs next
Are they
week.
4-0?
They're not. These aren't the standings. These are my power rankings. That's the way I see things. Hey, look, Bills were in the AFC
I got Bills
Championship
at,
game
I
last
got
year.
Bills at like I would say I got Bills at like 3.
So what I'm saying is last year, what happened last year matters. You know, Cardinals missed the playoffs. They have a lot to prove.
Wait.
Is Murray going to stay healthy? I know we're talking about
what happened
right
last
now.
year matters. Then the Bears
does.
should be an 11-win team because they got infinitely better at quarterback this year. And
Justin
they're
Fields?
not. Yes, over Mitch Trubisky. Yes, they got infinitely better. They would have if you would have went out there under center. They would have been infinitely better at quarterback than they were last year.
Out of the 5 quarterbacks that were drafted this year in the first round, who do you guys think are going to be busts?
I have Trevor Lawrence being a bust.
Okay.
And I
Kind of does
have
look that way right now.
I have who was the other one that I had being a bust? It was I really like Trey Lance. I really like Zach Wilson. I had Zach Wilson as my number 1 quarterback in the draft. I had Justin Fields as my number 2 quarterback in the draft.
Okay, because I think the bust. Sorry, Wyatt, but I think it's going to be Wilson, and I think it's going to be Fields.
What?
Chicago Bears
Fields
have never
has
had
struggled,
a good
man.
quarterback ever.
I agree. No, I agree.
And why is it going to happen now?
Because
You have to go back
at
to
some
the
point we're going to get rid of
1930s.
Matt Nagy.
And this is the only worry that I had about Justin Fields coming into the league was that there are some red flags here, and the 2 biggest are Ohio State quarterbacks normally do struggle in the league. They look at Dwayne Haskins, look at JT Barrett. You don't hear those names ever again. Which you hear Dwayne, but he's a backup for the Steelers. That was the big worry I had for him. And on top of that, look at the Bears quarterback situation. It's never been good. Literally. Is Jay Cutler probably the best Bears quarterback of all time? Or is it Jim McMahon? Which one?
It's Sid Luckman, but you're going back to the 30s.
No, Jay
I'm a real
quarterback the Bears
NFL
have ever
historian.
had.
I would say it's probably Jay
McMahon.
Cutler. He just didn't have very good leadership skills, so he gets a bad shake on that one.
That's what I hate when people say, "Well, they've never had a good quarterback come out of Ohio State." All right, well, it doesn't mean that the next guy can't be the first guy to be a good quarterback to come out of Ohio State.
No, and I love Justin Fields. I love Justin.
They kept saying USC quarterbacks were bust, and then they ended up with Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer had a nice NFL career. So there are guys out there. You look at where did Dak Prescott go to school?
Mississippi State.
Yeah,
How many
nice
great
one.
Mississippi State quarterbacks have there been in the league? How many great? You know what I mean?
That's a little different.
Look at
Ohio
Notre
State
Dame.
versus
Look at Notre
Mississippi
Dame.
State is
Notre
a big.
Dame was
There's a big drop off there.
Notre Dame was a big quarterback haven. Everybody's always raved about. They've had what?
They're a
one really
lineman
good
haven.
quarterback,
They're
and
like
that was Joe
Wisconsin and
Montana.
Iowa. They're a big lineman place. Notre Dame is.
No, they were the place where quarterbacks wanted to go. I mean, that back when in the 70s and 80s,
Joe Montana is the main Notre Dame.
Yeah, Joe Montana is the main Notre Dame one, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you name me a school that just has a rich quarterback pedigree that comes in the NFL and they just dominate.
Stanford.
Stanford's all right. Yeah.
John Elway, Andrew Luck. I mean, I can only think of two, but
Exactly,
Alabama
two.
right now.
Clemson's got Deshaun Watson, and we don't know about Trevor Lawrence yet.
Alabama, who from Alabama is a stud?
Well, I think Mac
Tua's
Jones is
been
all
right.
really
Mac
good.
Jones
I think
looks
Mac
good.
Jones is going to be good. Tua's a bum. Stop with
AJ
Tua.
McCarron never really got much of a
Yeah,
chance.
AJ McCarron never panned out, but he was like a second round pick. He didn't have high
Alabama's been a
expectations.
powerhouse for how many years now? 20 years?
Well, that's because of their strong run game. They produce running. Look at their running backs: Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram.
But I'm talking about
Eddie Lacy
quarterbacks
was even
right now.
good before he got too
Right,
fat.
but I'm talking about
yeah.
quarterbacks right now. What I'm trying to prove to you guys is that you can't say, "Oh, well, he's a Ohio State guy, so he's not going to succeed in this league," because there's no one college you can look at and say, "Oh, they've had a ton. Look at this program. Look at this program." It's not how it goes. Justin Fields is talented enough and smart enough to succeed in this league. Justin Fields is smart enough and talented enough to break that Ohio State, stigma of you can't be a good NFL quarterback because you come from Ohio State. That's something that people like to talk about. We like to talk about it on the show. ESPN likes to talk about it. Fox Sports, they all like to talk about that stuff. But it's not factual, because you can't look at that and say, oh, well, yeah, because that's my argument all the time when they say, "Oh, well, Ohio."
It's not factual that Ohio State hasn't released a good NFL quarterback.
No, that's factual. It's not factual that just because they've never done it, that Justin Fields can't be good.
Oh, okay.
I think
I get that.
it's more that Ohio State don't really ask their quarterbacks to read defenses. It's more the RPO thing. So when they come to the NFL, they don't really know how to read defenses.
The system doesn't really. The system never translates. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, I think that's it. So we don't need to make it a historical thing. Maybe he's going to be good. Maybe he's not. You guys don't like my top three, but that's okay.
Honestly, I think this draft class right now, the way it looks, ends up being like the one with Josh Allen and all of them. I think 4 end up being good and 1 ends up being a bust. As of right now, as much as I hate to say it, because I had so much faith in him coming into this year. Yeah. Right now, it looks like Trevor Lawrence is going to be that bust, in my opinion.
Well, that's because he's stuck with Urban frickin' Meyer as his coach, and he's more worried about getting lap dances at his restaurants than he is about winning a.
Have you heard the stories? He lied to the team and told him he was going to visit his grandchildren and went and cheated on his wife.
He's a clown.
Terrible.
He's a clown. And
I'm telling you guys, everywhere Urban Meyer goes, he's a great coach. He's an incredible coach. One of the greatest college coaches to ever do it.
He's a great recruiter.
But everywhere he goes, chaos and just craziness and bad stuff follows.
He's a great
underlying
recruiter.
health
He's not
problems
a great coach.
too. That's why he left Utah. That's why he left Florida, and that's why he left Ohio State. This guy's not going to last maybe even the season. Never mind the huge contract they gave him.
You know why he has heart problems?
Wasn't a good look.
He has heart problems because he's a 60-year-old man that is getting lap dances on a daily by 20-year-old women. That's why he's got heart problems.
I saw the video and I'm like, is that really Urban?
All those blue pills are wearing down on his heart. That's all I'm going to say.
It's catching him.
All right. So, no, Graham, I like your power rankings. I like doing this with you every week, man. I think it's going to be a lot of fun throughout this season. We definitely got a good thing going here. So I appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate your top 3, even though you were wrong, even though the Bills are not number 1 and the Cardinals are not number 3, should be flip-flopped. We'll still invite you back next week.
Oh, I appreciate it. The Bills, I feel like they have a lot to prove this week because they're playing the Chiefs, who have kind of owned them the last couple of years. They beat them twice last year, including the AFC Championship game. So if they lose this game like they have lost to the Chiefs the last 3 or 4 times they played them, you're going to definitely see them fall off the top of the mountain and maybe a bit more. I'm not sure about that. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. I'm not sure who the Cardinals are playing just yet. I haven't looked ahead just yet, to be honest, but
the Cardinals could walk into Kansas City and they could beat them by 72, while the Buffalo Bills beat the Miami Dolphins by 3, and you're going to have the Miami Dolphins ahead of them. Don't lie.
But they beat them by 35. Anyways, hey, I defend my rankings. You guys could go after them, but we could still be friends, like I said last week.
Absolutely. All right, great. Graham, thank you very much, man.
Okay, good to
have
be
a good
with you guys. All right, see ya.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. So that was Graham Wallace. That guy is a fun guy to talk to.
Oh yeah,
he's got the Toronto in him, the Canadian in him. We'll say A all day long. We'll drink some Tim Hortons coffee, but he's still way off about the Arizona Cardinals.
I got the Bills up there, but I just won. That's up there, man. I would say
message that said that I yell too much. while I was yelling at him.
Who was that?
One of our listeners texted me. One of our listeners from work actually texted me and said, "You guys
Stop yelling." Stop.
They just want me to come into work tomorrow and not have a heart attack on screen. That's all.
Right.
All right. So we're gonna get to a quick break, and when we come back, we are gonna get into some headlines here. We got a lot of stuff to cover. We will be right back. Give us 2 minutes. And we are back. Guys, look, I know sometimes I get a little carried away. I yell a lot. But I promise you after the show, we're all friends. We all laugh. Graham is going to come back next week. I did not hurt his feelings while he was on the show. Yeah. So, at any rate, we're going to keep moving here. Oh, man. So, let's just get into it. Bears have named Justin Fields a starter. Justin Fields is going to be the starter the rest of the year. Matt Nagy, just 2 days after saying that Andy Dalton was their starter when he's healthy, announces that Justin Fields is the starter moving forward. Is there any way that this was Matt Nagy's call?
I don't know. I feel like it kind of was, but at the same time, I feel like it wasn't, because just last week he was calling for the 3 quarterback system for some. He's just does some weird stuff, man. It's just like you draft a quarterback, top 15, you trade up for him, adding to that. Then and that's after you pick up a guy on a 1-year, $10 million deal, telling him he's the guy. Hey, you're the guy, Andy. You're the guy. And that is after last season picking up Nick Foles and saying, hey, we think you're the answer. So we've got 2 guys here that are the answer. And then you've got the draftee coming in that he's the answer. So Matt Nagy thinks that there's 3 valuable answered quarterbacks here. And ends up there's not. So I would say ultimately, yes, he's the head coach. He probably did make this call like, hey, it's time. We've seen enough of Justin that, we know that, it's time to kind of get him into that full time role for us at the quarterback position. So yeah, I think he probably did, come to his senses, as saying, who do you think made the decision? It certainly wasn't Virginia McCaskey.
So what happened? I'm going to tell you exactly how this worked. Okay. So on Monday, he has this press conference, right? Ryan Pace and George McCaskey are out playing golf. They don't even hear the press conference. On Tuesday, they get into Hallis Hall and they're like, guys, did you guys hear that press conference yesterday by Matt Nagy? And they're like, no. So they go and they watch it together. And right then, George McCaskey looks at Ryan Pace and says, hold my beer. And the music hits like he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. The glass crashes. He comes walking through there, and he kicks that door open. And he says, He said, look, I am not paying you, and your job does not hinge on your wins and losses this year. I don't even expect you to be a good team this year because I know what you are. Your job hinges on whether or not you can develop a quarterback like you said you could when we hired you the first time. And that's when it changed for Matt Nagy. Because somebody went in there and said, look, if you want to keep your job past this season, you need to show that you can develop this kid. You can run a playbook with this kid as your quarterback. And if I'm Matt Nagy, I can continue to let Bill Lazor call the plays. I continue to sit on the sidelines and be a head coach and do the head coach things and allow my offensive coordinator to call the plays. Because if Matt Nagy takes back over the play calling, Matt Nagy's not going to have a job past week 6. So that's what I think happened. I don't think this was completely taken out of Matt Nagy's hands. Matt Nagy absolutely was under the impression, for whatever reason, that if he wanted to, he could play Andy Dalton over Justin Fields. Why would you play Andy Dalton over Justin Fields? Why? Well, it makes no sense to play Andy Dalton over Justin Fields. It makes no sense. People talk all the time. Oh, and Buck and Torrey say this all the time. Oh, well, you got a rookie quarterback should sit. The Los Angeles Chargers were going to play Tyrod Taylor for a full season over Justin Herbert until he got his lung punctured. And what did we see come from Justin Herbert? What did Justin Herbert do when he got the reins? He ended up being great, but we wouldn't have known that had he not gotten the chance to start. Why do we continue to allow these, because they're veterans, start over these guys who we take in the first round, some we trade up to get? Why? It makes no sense to me. It's not like
because in pretty much every other system it works. Just Chicago has never figured out. I'm not just saying that as
every other system. Stop it.
Aaron Rodgers, he sat behind. Trey Lance looks pretty good right now, sitting behind Jimmy Garoppolo.
Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre.
Okay. Well,
Trey Lance showed last week that he wasn't ready to come in and play a game because they looked really sluggish and really lost with Trey Lance under center. No, he was not. What are you talking about? No, he wasn't.
He had like 20-something fantasy points. He had a pretty good game.
Oh, God. Dude, you could throw 3 passes and get 20 fantasy points.
That is not true.
They looked
crazy.
It is based
off fantasy football is based off of production. You get points for good plays.
You obviously didn't watch the game. You just saw his fantasy points.
That is
because
not
if
true.
you watch the game, Trey Lance was not right. The highlights are the highlights. They don't call them the lowlights. They don't show
you watch his best and his worst plays. That's what I saw, and then I kind of depict what the middle ground is. That's the point of highlights, because I was watching a different game.
That's not how the eye test works, Wyatt. Not at all. But at any rate,
the eye test is not real. It is a non-factual, statistical-based thing.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Because, statistics would tell you that Trevor Lawrence is a winning quarterback. The eye test would tell you that Trevor Lawrence is in a whole lot of trouble in Jacksonville.
Well, come on now.
Right?
I'm saying, seeing a good quarterback... No. The eye test is not a factual based thing. It's not. We all use it. Don't get me wrong. I still use it.
The statistics tell you that Urban Meyer should be a successful head coach.
No, it doesn't. The statistics
What are
tell
you
us he should be
talking about?
horrible.
He's been a great head coach. What are you talking about?
No, college
he's won
coaches do
everywhere
not
he's
work
gone.
in the NFL. College coaches do
oh,
not work in the NFL. We've seen that. Nick Saban did not make it in the NFL.
Pete Carroll?
Pete Carroll. Okay, come on. One. You got one. That's it.
You only named me one. Not
I
very
just
many
named you
guys
two.
come
Nick
up to
Saban,
beat.
Urban Meyer.
Okay.
There's multiple.
At any rate.
Petrino didn't work for the Falcons. That was horrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was just a stupid hire.
Petrino is a stupid hire.
that was.
I think I've told that story on here before, but I've got a wild story about it. You want to hear about wild college stories? Ask me what I know about Bobby Petrino when I met him.
God.
Okay, you want to hear about wild college campus stories? There you go. I got one for you.
So let me ask you this then: what is considered a successful season for Justin Fields?
I would say a successful season for Justin Fields. And that's such a hard topic because
behind this offensive line, don't die.
Right, just survive, stay healthy, throw a couple of passes in the meantime. No, honestly, I think a successful season for Justin Fields, if he comes away with 7 wins, I would be pretty impressed because right now, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. That offensive line is worse than what we
They've
thought.
already won 2 games. They're 2-2, Wyatt. They're only a game behind the Packers.
That's a fluke.
Give us
what
New Orleans. Mean that's a fluke?
Give us New Orleans any other week, and
not
eye
test. No statistics,
give us
right?
New
Not
Orleans.
eye test.
Give us New Orleans any other week, and we beat the living god out of them. I'm telling you, I promise. I would put money on it right now.
Okay. Well, it's not.
New Orleans
happen.
is our
We're not
one
gonna
loss.
See it, so that's why you'd put money on it because you're not going to see it. It's not going to happen.
I know it. We have one. The Packers have one bad game every year. 2 years ago was the Chargers, and then last year it was the Buccaneers. We got stomped, and this year was the Saints. We have a bad game every year.
Wyatt, you guys still have not beaten anybody. Other than the 49ers. I'll give you the 49ers game, but you blew a 17-0 lead in that game. You did what you were supposed to do, and you beat the Lions and you beat the Steelers. But you got murdered. You got murdered against the Saints.
Yes, we did. It was a bad game. Yes,
and
100%
over the next 3
true.
weeks, you still don't play anybody. You play the Bengals, the Bears, and Washington.
Bengals are a good team.
You're going to start the season at
Bengals
6-1.
are a top 10 team.
The Bengals are not a top 10 team.
Where do you have them in the power rankings? Where would you put them?
12.
You just agreed with him when they were top 10.
No, I did not.
You didn't say anything about it. You didn't disagree.
Because I was waiting for him to get to the Cardinals. I was so aggravated when I saw the top 3. I was waiting for him to get to the Cardinals. But then, after the Bengals, Bears, and Washington, you guys get the Cardinals, Chiefs, Seahawks. So those are the 3 games that I'm looking to.
I think we escaped that 2-1.
I fully expect you to be 6-1 heading into those 3 games. And then that's going to be your tell of where you really stand when you play those 3 teams.
And that'll be right whenever Kansas City's starting to heat up. So we really do get to see that test. And Arizona's on fire right now.
Will still be undefeated at that point.
They could be. They very well could be. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they, strung together probably 9 wins here. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I
don't know about going all the way undefeated.
Before they play Green Bay. They play the Niners, Browns, and Texans before they play Green Bay. And the Browns game is in Cleveland.
Ooh. Niners are a good team.
I think the Cardinals still
Browns, I still think they win, especially against the Texans. I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, and
is Davis Mills' neck going to throw the ball for us?
If Jimmy G's not playing this Sunday, I think the Cardinals win this game by 2 to 3 touchdowns.
Really?
I do.
I don't know though. Trey Lance, there's not a lot of film on him, man. That's why I kind of feel like this could be a big benefit for him. The last time that we saw him play a full season was 2 years ago for North Dakota State.
The quarterbacks
he took
that
this
I
last
thought
year
weren't
off.
ready to start week 1. Trey Lance was one of them. I didn't think he'd be ready to. I think he needed to sit a year. He was one of those guys. There are quarterbacks that do need to sit a year, and Jimmy G is the guy who took your team to the Super Bowl 2 years ago before you had 56 injuries last year. So.
Jimmy G's looked good too. I mean, he led the Niners back against the Packers, and of course, old AR-12.
Yeah,
you know that story. You've seen that plenty of times. I don't even have to explain that.
No, and you know what? Unlike Packers fans, this Bears fan actually gave him kudos, and I didn't go off after the Bears won this past week. I didn't go, oh, look at that, Packers fans, the Bears won, take that. No, I didn't do that. I said, hey, look at the Packers. The Packers actually look good right now. And even after week 1, I don't know where you keep coming off saying, oh, I went off about the Packers losing week 1. I picked the Saints in that game anyway, so I expected the Packers to lose week 1.
I'm losing you here. I'm not sure. I just lost you for a second.
You got me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay.
I don't know what just happened. My computer blinked out for a second and went crazy.
Yeah, but so let's get back onto Justin Fields here. I just want to get to one more thing before we get to the next topic. Does Fields save Matt Nagy's job?
If I don't really think anybody's job's at stake this year. I mean, you mentioned that earlier. I don't think, literally, unless if they go 0-17, then, which is not going to happen. Or if they win 3 or less games, then yeah, I think some people's jobs are at stake. But, I don't necessarily think anybody is in, deep water right now. I think there's potential for it. So I don't necessarily think Nagy gets fired this year if he does, but if let's say Justin Fields next year has another, let's say he has a bad year this year and then Justin has a year next year that's bad, then yeah, I think that he could get him fired. But if Justin comes out and Justin plays really well and he develops into a good quarterback, then I don't think you can fire Nagy. I mean, no matter how bad he's been at times, if he's developing this quarterback, because here's the thing, just as long as Justin Fields winning games, nobody's gonna ask questions. Okay,
but see, that's why
he couldn't develop
though. I think that Justin Fields, if Justin Fields isn't developing, and you can physically see him not developing, if Matt Nagy can't develop a game plan around this kid to make him at least put him in position to be successful, then I think Matt Nagy's gone probably mid-season.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but winning though, if they're winning, winning cures everything.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you're winning, then you're doing the things to develop your quarterback. So, I mean, if you're winning, he's doing the right things. But even if you're losing, you could still watch the quarterback develop even through losses. I mean, I watched, what's his face out of New York? That's Sam Darnold. I saw Sam Darnold develop in a horrible system for 4 years, and now he's shining in Carolina because he's out of that horrible organization in New York.
I called that too. I've been a huge fan of Sam Darnold ever since he was at USC.
I thought it was a great move for Carolina, and I thought that he would be successful in Carolina as well.
Carolina's front office has been making a lot of really good moves here recently.
But that's what I'm saying. You can watch a quarterback lose and still develop. So even if they're losing, as long as Justin Fields is developing,
as long as you're seeing improvements.
Exactly. He'll still keep his job. But if there's no progression made at all, then Matt Nagy, he's probably on a really short leash. I wouldn't be surprised if he looked like he was at a funeral today announcing that Justin Fields was going to be the starter. He looked like somebody took him out behind the woodshed and beat him up and took his lunch money.
They probably did.
And said, now go tell Justin Fields that he's the starter. Because
go tell him you're sorry. Now, and mean it.
And so I think that he's on a short leash. I think he has. So Justin Fields absolutely can save Matt Nagy's job, but Matt Nagy has to save Matt Nagy's job. He has to show that he can develop this kid. If he can't show that, then he should be out. Me personally, I'm done with Matt Nagy. I wish Matt Nagy, I don't want the Bears to lose, and I don't want Justin Fields to not succeed. But I want to see, if we're going to need to see a new regime, I don't want to see it 2 years from now. I want to see it start to happen right now, because I don't want to waste 2 years of Justin Fields' career. I want to see somebody come in and develop a game plan and make that. I would love to see Eric Bieniemy come in. I really would.
That's literally what I was ready to say.
I would go after Eric Bieniemy. I would do anything I could I'd make him the highest paid head coach if I had to.
My only worry about Bieniemy is the same worry that I had with people with the Sean McVay situation. How many coaches get hired, 2 years ago, was it 3 years ago, where if they had met Sean McVay, shook his hand once in a locker room, they got an NFL coaching job. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, like was it Judge got hired? What was it? Cincinnati hired their coach, the Giants. Who else? So Cincinnati Giants, and then the Packers had hired Matt LaFleur because he had a background with Sean McVay. Like all these coaches were getting these jobs because they had backgrounds around Sean McVay. And that's kind of the only worry I have with Bieniemy is maybe this could be a Chiefs kind of situation because their defensive coordinator just left and went somewhere else. Bieniemy couldn't get a job, which is it's so weird to me. You're telling me that, like, the Eagles, for example, Sirianni's better than Bieniemy? Really? You sure about that? I don't know about that.
Yeah.
No. So that's the only worry that I have is that, he's supposed to be an offensive coordinator. He's not supposed to be a head coach. That'd be the only red flag I have with it, but I'm a big fan of Bieniemy, and that would be, I, as a Packers fan, would hate to see that, but as a football fan and an avid fan of Justin Fields, I would really like to see Eric Bieniemy come to Chicago.
And that being said,
that would be a good fit.
Let's just face it. Adam Gase is the next quarterback, or is the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. Let's just
for sure. Or Ryan Pace might even take over. Who knows?
Yeah. That's just what they do. Virginia McCaskey is actually going to come down from the front office, and she's going to be the first female head coach in the history of the NFL.
Justin Fields is actually going to be the head coach. He's just going to drop the whole quarterback thing. He's like, yeah, I'll just be coach. What? Get back over there. Put your jersey back on. Shut up.
All right. So let's get off some of the Bears train right now. The New England Patriots traded Stephon Gilmore to Carolina for a 6th-round pick.
6th-round pick.
Why did the Patriots make this move right now? He still
had 4
weeks left on the PUP list.
Right. Right. They're in no rush. You've got a while to get to move him. The Patriots always make weird moves, man. Like with everything, like what they do. Like the free agent signings are always odd. Oh, he's great. At one point, he was the best cornerback. 2 years ago, he's probably the best cornerback, arguably the best cornerback in the league.
I think he's still there. He took last year off because of COVID, but I think he's still there.
Right. No, I think he's a really good cornerback, a very skilled cornerback. I think he's still a top, at his peak moments, I still think he's a top 3 guy in the league, seriously. And to get him, whenever you look at like the Rams had to give up like a house and they had to sell the entire house and the kids too to get Jalen Ramsey a couple of years ago. What did they give up? 2 firsts and a second, something like that for Jalen Ramsey, which ultimately paid off. And if it's your guy, then it's your guy. And if he makes a difference like Jalen Ramsey does, then sure, spend your 1st-round picks. But for them to get Gilmore for a 6th-round pick, you're telling me if the draft started tomorrow and I could get a guy like Stephon Gilmore with the 6th-round pick, done. I'll give you a 4th. I'll give you a 3rd for Stephon Gilmore's production. At his age, I probably wouldn't give you a 2nd or a 1st, but for the production you're going to get, a 6th-round pick, this is a steal. This is a steal for a already good defense that we've seen. I know they looked asleep at the wheel a little bit last week, but they had good moments too. They were able to help with the comeback. Of course, they didn't pull it off. But, this was a defense that last week, right before they played the Cowboys, was the number 1 defense in the league. Yeah. Stats-wise, the number 1 defense in the league, and they only got better with this move. I'm a big fan of the Carolina Panthers right now, man. I've loved Sam Darnold since he was in college. I always preached for him while he was with the Jets that this is not his fault. This is all Adam Gase, and it's the New York Jets. And the second he gets out of there, he's going to succeed.
He's still on the PUP list for, I believe, for another 3 weeks. So, I mean, he's not going to be playing right away.
Right.
This might be a stupid question, but who do you think won this trade?
I think and when I say this, I don't mean this disrespectful or anything to the Patriots fans or the Patriots. But I think
it's fine. You can be disrespectful of Patriots fans.
Right,
it's fine.
Right. No, leaps and bounds. I think that the Carolina Panthers won this huge. Like, I don't even think it's close. I mean, who's Stephon Gilmore could be, and this is kind of a Patriots thing too. The Patriots like trading away a star player. I'm not talking about Tom Brady here, but they like trading away star players kind of as they're winding down, and it's that time. They did it with Wes Welker. They've done it with Amendola. They use guys to that certain point, and they're like, hey, it's time to release. It's time for you to go separate ways. We're done. Malcolm Butler, too. Yeah. And everybody's always like, man, why are they doing this? That guy's still so good. And then the guy always ends up dying off right after, and it's like, what happened? So this definitely could be one of those situations. Because Bill Belichick is a smarter football mind than I am. That's for sure. So but I don't see it.
This is why I feel like it's a win for the Patriots. 2 reasons. One, they were about to release this guy for nothing. And
That's
instead
true.
they were able to pull him back and get a 6th-round pick out of it.
That is true.
And
That's
2,
probably why it was so low too.
They said if he started and then got hurt, there was a clause in his contract that made the Patriots pay him $9 million.
He got a huge contract a couple years ago. He
Yeah.
got Defensive Player of the Year or something, didn't he?
Yeah. So you now you have 0 risk, and you put all that risk on the Carolina Panthers. Like there's no risk there. So you just got out of $9 million, got out of a guy who apparently you were going to lose anyway, and you're going to let go for free, and you got a 6th-round draft pick for it, and you don't have to pay $9 million if he gets hurt.
Oh, there are definitely some pluses for both sides, but I just feel like, I like Stephon Gilmore a lot, and like I said, for a 6th-round pick, I just feel like that's a good deal for what they got.
The Patriots find Hall of Fame players in the 6th round, though.
That's actually that pick that they traded is going to end up being the next Tom Brady. It was actually pick 199 and everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but imagine, wouldn't that be crazy if it was pick 199 as well? Like, that would be, and then like they get a quarterback and ends up being crazy or something.
The Patriots just find a way to do that thing.
Right.
So speaking of almost cutting somebody, the Cowboys actually did cut somebody. They cut Jalen Smith, and before we came on the air,
they did.
I informed Wyatt Williams that the Green Bay Packers were finalizing a deal with Jalen Smith. I have not seen it has not come through that it is actually final, but it was that they were finalizing the deal with Jalen Smith. So
the second today that I saw that he was released, my first thought in my head was, man, he looked good in green and gold. And Jalen Smith's a good linebacker,
first thought
too.
As soon as anybody gets released and let go.
That's true.
That could improve your team.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Good in green and gold.
That's a good point.
There's a reason why the Cowboys released Jalen Smith. There's a reason for it. They didn't just release him just because he was a good player and they were just like, nah, we don't need good players. They released him because
they were paying him a lot of money to be a backup. That's the thing.
Yes, and he's also a head case. I mean, he was a disruption in the locker room from what I've heard. There's a lot of things that go along with the baggage of Jalen Smith, and with already a disrupted locker room that they've had with all of the drama with Aaron Rodgers, is this really that good of a signing for the Green Bay Packers?
Look, man, this thing has got to work for one season. All right. I think we all are kind of starting to realize that this is it. Yeah. All right. And he might be a head case, but this is the one season. This is the season for glory. This is the one. This is that season. Balls to the wall, crazy. We're going aggressive, all that stuff, because we know Aaron's gone after next year. As of right now, that is really the way it looks. And if he's gone, Devontae Adams is gone. So that's literally the number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion, in the league, and a top 2 quarterback in the league, gone. Boom, out. See ya. Bye. Peace. So I don't think it matters long term. This is one of those signings where they're like, hey, this guy's got talent. We got 1 year left with Aaron, and we're really trying to win a Lombardi trophy. A new era starts next year.
Why wasn't he playing in Dallas?
Because they got Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is like insanely good. Micah Parsons, in my opinion, is on his way to being the next Bobby Wagner.
You can't have 2 really good linebackers.
I mean, they got Leighton Vander Esch. They got the Cowboys have the best linebacker core, arguably, in the league. So this guy falling to a backup is not too surprising. They paid him a lot of money, and that is kind of how people freaked out about him. They're like, oh, hey, I watched the film. He is good. That's the biggest reason, though. And the only reason why they paid him a lot of money was to make Zeke jealous, because Zeke was throwing his fit a couple of years ago, and he was sitting in Mexico, not coming back. So they're like, hey, if Zeke won't take our money, we'll get somebody else and make it a little more urgent. So they paid Jalen Smith to get Zeke to come back, because Zeke's like, oh, God, all the money's leaving. I better get there now, actually. So this whole thing from the start was just to upset Zeke, and he was already overpaid. He was never the linebacker that he got paid for. But he is a talented linebacker. He's a good linebacker out of Notre Dame. I like Jalen Smith. I've always, been a fan of him playing and stuff, but I don't necessarily think that this was, Yes, there was some stuff in the locker room, I'm sure, but he cost $7 million a year to sit on the bench, and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a guy who's going to sit on the bench.
Yeah, definitely. And watching the NL wild card game here in the background, they had the Dodgers are down 1-0. They had the bases loaded, and Trey Turner steps to the dish. Adam Wainwright on a 3-2 count saws him off, breaks his bat, and gets him to hit into an inning-ending double play. It's still 1-0. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yep. So,
wow.
Let me. Oh crap! I just lost the. There it goes. All right. So Joey Bosa, we talked a little bit about it while we were going through the
just
power
skimmed
rankings.
over.
Joey Bosa made some comments about Derek Carr. Said that if you hit Derek Carr, we know he likes to turtle up. He likes to wilt. And not gonna lie, I mean, I saw a couple of still shots of them about to hit him, and he's turtling up and he's kind of wilting, and he did not look very good on Monday night. But Joey Bosa makes these comments, and Derek Carr came out today and said, yeah, he's like, I'm not going to lie. I'd be lying if I said it didn't bother me. And he said it pissed me off, but that's not always a bad thing. So, should these comments have bothered Derek Carr?
I would say, yeah. Oh, excuse me. My gosh, I'm just choked on my own spit. But no, I can't. I took a drink and I figure you can't breathe water, so figure that out now. Right, big discovery, right? I would say a little bit, but at the same time, you can't really let something like that get to you. But a lot of guys do hear stuff like that and they do see it. But like I said, at the end of the day, you can't really, react.
Yeah.
Because if you react, you're showing it's getting to you, and that's the worst thing you could do. Because then at that point, everybody's going to be in your ear for an entire game, for seasons and seasons, and that's not good. But I would say, yeah, he's going to see this, and maybe it gets there a little bit, but I think he kind of brushes it off.
Yeah,
I doubt he's a super passive guy. And really, really Christian. So I doubt right. He's really, really Christian, isn't he? He's always posts stuff on Instagram about that, which there's nothing wrong with being really Christian. But I just feel like I don't think he's the kind of retaliative kind of person. Retaliative. That's a word.
I'm not so sure that I like my quarterback coming out and say, yeah, it bothered me. I'd rather him, keep that close to the vest and show in his play that it bothered him. And let his play do the talking. I'm just not so sure Joey Bosa should have said this in the media. I mean,
right, it's definitely a bad look for him.
You've got to have respect for your opponents as well. You can't it's one thing. We hear trash talking all the time. Who's the cornerback that's always talking? It was on the Rams.
Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey. Always talking trash. But I don't like that either, because there's a difference between talking trash and disrespecting your opponent. And when you start disrespecting your opponent, I feel like you're disrespecting the game a little bit. So I really didn't care that Joey, and I like Joey Bosa. I really do. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's a top 3 defensive end in this game right now. I like Joey Bosa a lot, but I don't like how he went about that. I don't like the way he said that. And, if I'm Joey Bosa, I'd probably text Carr or talk to him the next time we play him and be like, hey, man, it just kind of came out, heat of the moment. I apologize. And that's probably what he'll do, because Joey Bosa seems like he's that kind of guy. I just, I wasn't a big fan of him saying it. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to another break. And when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more. Well, actually, what do you want to do? You want to talk some more headlines, Wyatt, or do you want to play Would You Rather?
Let's play Would You Rather.
All right. We'll be back in 2 minutes with some Would You Rather. Stay tuned.
BuckRadio.com.
Nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And we are back. Can you guys even see the comments? Yeah, you know what?
Yes,
I've done
sir.
a bad job at looking at the comments tonight just because
I just realized that too.
I'm used so
I'm so sorry.
so you guys don't, so when we're on the show, typically what happens now is we've got two different streams going on. So Buck and myself and Tori or Wyatt are usually in a backstage, and only Buck can see the comments. Only Buck controls the comments. So I'm not used to looking at them and controlling them. So I've done a bad job of looking at them. So I'm sure it looks like there's a ton. I mean, Drew, as I'm scrolling up, Drew has been feverishly commenting here. So it's, he said it only took 19 years for me to see the comments, or are you talking about something else here?
Oh, I think for me to say, he said for me to say balls.
Oh,
It only took 19.
You said balls. That's funny.
Balls.
And
Balls.
anyway, we are going to play some Would You Rather. Wyatt, are you ready for this, man?
I'm ready, man.
All right.
Glad it's not Guess Who.
Yeah. We've got a couple of teams that are about to lose their managers, one of which already did. The San Diego Padres fired their manager today. It looks as all signs point to Aaron Boone is probably out as Yankees manager too after their early exit last night. So here's my would you rather. Moving forward, would you rather be the manager of the New York Yankees or the San Diego Padres?
I would say Padres only because their talent is a little younger. That's the only reason why. And Fernando Tatis is the most exciting player in baseball. I mean, it's just like he is literally lifting baseball from a highlight reel while he plays. It is incredible the stuff that guy does. So to get to work with him every day, that would be really, really cool. Nothing against Aaron Judge, because that would be incredibly cool as well. But I'll take Padres.
Yeah, I would go Padres as well for a couple of reasons. One, because of all the young talent they've got a really young,
Right.
talented team. But they've also shown, their organization has shown the ability to spend money in the right places. Now, granted, I thought that they did a bad job at the trade deadline and not adding any pitching depth, and that's really what ultimately cost them in the second half of the season. But they at least show the willingness to spend it in the right places. The New York Yankees, year after year after year, spend millions upon millions. I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars on their
Billions
offense.
and billions.
Exactly. But they spend it on offense, and then they go bargain basement shopping for pitching, or they overpay for some overrated pitching, like they did. Jesus, like they did with Garrett Cole, and then they get bargain basement pitching after that. I mean, name me a pitcher on the Yankees after Garrett Cole.
There's
yeah, exactly. It's and they do got some good bullpen. They do, but they don't got anybody who can get them there. They just don't. And so, I myself, I would rather be a part of the Padres organization because to me, the Yankees just seem to year after year spend a ton of money, but spend it in the wrong places. So I am going with San Diego Padres as well. So let's stay on this course, shall we? Looking ahead in the NFL, I'm going to predict that the Chicago Bears will be looking for a head coach in the offseason. I'm going to predict that the Philadelphia Eagles will be looking
What makes you think that?
I'm willing to predict that the Philadelphia Eagles will be looking for a head coach in the offseason.
No, they just hired Sirianni.
Philadelphia Eagles will be looking for a head coach in the offseason. And the Jacksonville Jaguars will be looking for a head coach in the offseason. So I ask you, out of those three teams, which team would you rather become the head coach for? And take your bias out of it.
I was like, well, there's one answer I can't choose here. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I would probably take the Chicago Bears. I think they're the best of the three teams. And Chicago's problem isn't talent. It isn't that they don't have players. It isn't, that they don't have a good defense. They're actually a pretty good team on paper, actually. If you look at it, they're a good team. So it pains me to say it, but I would take the Bears because when you look at Jacksonville, yes, there's a lot of young talent there. Yes, Trevor Lawrence is there, and that draws a lot of attention and stuff. And he could still end up being a really good quarterback. Other than Trevor Lawrence, DJ Chark's all right, but continues to get hurt, and he's really inconsistent. That defense is really inconsistent. Miles Jack has kind of disappeared over the last couple of years. The offensive line isn't great. There's a lot of rebuilding to do for that squad. So I kind of wrote off Jacksonville on that one. And then the Eagles, like I said, I don't necessarily think the Eagles have a head coach opening at the end of this year. I think maybe next year though. But the Eagles are kind of in the same boat. Like Hurts is a dynamic playmaker. It would be fun to scheme up some stuff for him. And, he's a fun player to watch. He really is. And it would be fun to work with him. You could really get creative with a playbook with a guy like Jalen Hurts who can run extremely well. He's the body of a running back and has the arm of a quarterback. It's really essentially perfect, but it doesn't work out as much as it should. So you've got some playmakers. Devonta Smith's not bad. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of rebuilding to do there. I think that Philadelphia, they're really, and I hate to say this because the Pirtle family back in Indiana, they're like, my second family. I watch football with them all the time. They're diehard Eagles fans, but they've all the Eagles front office has got to let go of that Super Bowl or they're never going to win another one. Zach Ertz has got to go. Dallas Goedert is the answer. Lane Johnson and all those guys, they've got to go. They're old. Jason Kelsey's great, and he's a fun guy, and he's, cool and all that. But and he's, started with the hungry dogs run faster and all that stuff. But, there kind of runs that fine line where, like, hey, it's time. It's time to move on. It's time to kind of reset. And I think Philly fans have a real issue with that reset button. So for those issues, not having to deal with some Eagles fans on that, I kind of avoid there. And, there's a lot of holes to fill still. But like I said, man, when you look at Chicago, on paper, they should be a good team. They've got a good wide receiver core. They've got a good upcoming tight end. Their defense is one of the top in the league. And then their quarterback situation, they just drafted him, top 15 and trade up to get him. And he's a good quarterback. He really is. He's got some work to do, and there's definitely some changes that need to be made. But ultimately,
quarterback, so he can't be good.
No, I did not say that. I said that people look at that. I didn't say he's a bust. I never have said Justin Fields is going to be a bust. I fought for Justin Fields from day one, even when you were hating on him. And then once he went to the Bears, then you were a big part of that. But
no, I still said the same thing. First of all, I wasn't hating on him. I said the same thing about him that I still say about him now, is that he has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long. That was the one knock I had on him.
He does.
Heading into
That's why he had 9 sacks. And he's going to learn. There are some people
sacks because of that playbook.
Well, that probably didn't help, but and that's kind of one of those things.
Line, and he was doing nothing but 5 and 6 step drops.
Exactly, and
that's what he was doing: 5, 6 steps, and then he was dropping,
and then just dropping. Yeah, you're going straight. But I would say, Justin Fields there's some work needs to be there, but this is one of those things. I think he learns the hard way on this. Yeah. I think he learns, some people are really like that. It's tough. I'm kind of like that sometimes. But, some people need to learn the hard way. And I think that's kind of Justin's thing. Justin's going to get popped in the mouth a couple of times and realize, oh, God, these defensive linemen in the league are a little faster than they are at the old University of Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to throw for 350 yards and, run all over the place against this defense.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with that. For me, it's the Bears, too, just because of Justin Fields, and I feel like they're really a head coach away. Those other two organizations, yes.
And the offensive line, they really need to build that up, too.
Yeah, and yes, both of the Eagles and the Jaguars both have some appealing pieces. However, their organizations are just...
Right.
I mean, not that the Bears organization is a top organization by any stretch of the imagination, but at least they're ready to win now. And those other two organizations are not.
Well, and with the other two, once again, not trying to crap on the Eagles or anything, and it's the same situation the Jaguars fall in. They just don't have winning cultures.
I really hope your buddy is listening to this show right now. I really do.
I hope not. I don't want to come off wrong because I do like the Philadelphia Eagles.
He's going to get on you. He is going to call you up after the show, and he's not going to be happy with you.
Right, I know. I'm sorry, Blake, Bison, Brian, Stacy. I'm sorry, guys, but
I'm friends with Blake on Facebook.
Oh Lord, don't do this to me.
I'm going to message him after the show and let him know he needs to watch the last 20 minutes of the show because you crap all over his Philadelphia Eagles.
Didn't want to do it either, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, you did it, but I mean, it is what it is. So, Wyatt, you're off to college now, and you've got to go to school. You've got to go play golf, go play football, come home, but then you've got to cook your own meals, right? You've got to eat dinner.
Yeah, that's a struggle every night.
After 2 months on your own, I'm going to ask you this: would you rather eat Nikki's cooking or your mom's cooking?
It's tough because they both suck. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Behind you. Hey, unless she's watching the show.
Oh, you just see a hand come up above my head and just bam!
With a pan.
I go right into the computer screen
with a pan full of food and says, "How you like this cooking?"
Falls, bam! Fall out of my chair, wipe out.
Oh God, I'm messaging her now too. Tell her she needs to watch.
Oh God, Mom's calling me. Hold on, Ma. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. See, Wyatt, look, you might be in college, but in the last 2 questions, I've gotten you to alienate your best friend's football team, alienate your girlfriend and your mom's cooking. You're not a smart man.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
I set you up for it and you failed.
I bit the bait. I mean, I got in there on it.
I mean, yeah, I can't. I'm gonna let Blake know while we're on break that he needs to check out the last 20 minutes of the show, and we'll get there. So when we come back from break, we will be at Shop Talk time. So, Drew, I see you are prevalent in chat. We will get to some of these comments. If you have anything else you want to talk about, Drew, let us know. We will bring it up on screen. We will talk about it. We'll be right back. And we are back, and I was scrolling through, and Drew says that's a loaded question. I think he's referring to the better cook question. So even Drew got it, and you were like, now but they both suck. Like you could have been like, I don't know, I love them
suck
both
at
so
cooking
much.
too, though. So
you
it's like,
been like,
kind of
no, see, that's not going to help you, man. The first thing you've got to learn growing up as a male is that when you dog the two women in your life that love you the most, you're in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, it's not good.
And this year, when you go home for Thanksgiving, you're eating canned tuna. That's
Thankfully, everyone is coming down here for Thanksgiving. Thankfully,
yeah, but you're getting canned tuna. Like you're gonna get a can. I'm just telling you, that's what it is.
At least Nikki and Mom didn't cook it.
new merch opportunity. Wyatt Gump. I'm not a smart man. Drew says I'll take the Eagles over the Jags any day. I agree with you.
Yeah, I would
there.
probably take the Eagles over the Jags.
Yeah,
too.
I would definitely take the Eagles over the Jags. Look, they've got more pieces, and at least for as bad as Jeffrey Lurie seems to be at times, he wants to win. He wants to put a winning product out there, so he'll allow you the flexibility to go out there and become a winning franchise. So I would definitely take the Eagles over the Jags as well. I agree with you there, Drew. Drew says there are two words you would become very familiar with. Those are yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Look, I joke around with Michelle because Michelle, like, she will admit that she can't cook. Like, she just doesn't cook. She's never learned how to cook, so she just doesn't cook. But when she does cook, she cooks good food. Like, and she bakes, she makes good cookies, she makes good brownies, that type of stuff. So she does do a good job when she does try. Are you taking notes here, Wyatt? Are you taking notes? You don't dog them. You don't tell them that when you tell them to do a good job, so that way you don't have to do it yourself. Because when you have to do it yourself, that's just more work for you. They do a good job.
Yeah.
They both, even if you have to choke it down, it's good. This is some of the best I ever had. I mean, I don't know how you burn noodles, but it's some of the best damn burnt noodles I've ever had. Yes.
How did you do that?
Yeah. But see, that's so for me, like I learned how to cook at a young age. When I was in the Marine Corps, I got tired of going to the chow hall and having to eat chow hall food. So I learned how to just whip stuff together. So I make weird things. We were talking before the show. One of my favorite quick meals is mac and cheese with tuna, and I throw peas in it too. I throw peas in it.
No, you're just making it worse.
No,
all three things separate are amazing. But and then
you take the beef ramen noodles with a little bit of soy sauce and a spoonful of your favorite salsa.
That could be good. That could be good, but
yeah.
Still, I just think you kind of run a fight. Like I told you earlier. Like I still think you the dish can't figure out what origin it is.
Quick though. That's only when I need something quick. Like when I have time to prepare a meal, ask Michelle. Man, I make my Alfredo from scratch. I make steak tip Alfredo. You cook that steak up. Oh Dang. Man, that's some good stuff. I do. Oh, look who's in the chat here.
Oh, Lord. What's up, Bison?
Look who's in the chat. Bison, dude. I don't know if you caught the show before the break, but Wyatt, I gave him 3 choices. I said the Bears, the Eagles, or the Jaguars. Who would you rather be the head coach of next year? And what Wyatt said was the Jaguars are an awful organization. The Eagles are an awful team. He's like, I hate everything about the Eagles, and their fans are awful. He said their fans are atrocious. He's like, the fan base of the Philadelphia Eagles are at the worst fan base in all football. He said, so I would take the Chicago Bears. He actually chose the Chicago Bears over the Eagles, Bison. I don't know how you feel about that.
I did do that. But, I did do that. 90% of what he just said was not correct, but the part about me choosing the Bears over the Eagles, that's right.
Drew, help me out here. Help me out in the chat. Don't let this
just
kid
go
get
watch
away with it.
Go look at what I said.
Yeah, I mean,
20 minutes ago, you can tell.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I just wanted you to know that ahead of time. I did text Blake while we were on break, and I did tell him he needed to watch the last 20 minutes of the show. And so hopefully, he'll watch the last 20 minutes of the show, and then maybe you'll get a phone call tonight, Wyatt, at like 1 a.m. when you're trying to sleep. So, at any rate. See, Drew knows Trailer Park Tuna Casserole. I do that too, Combs. See? That's what it is.
This cannot be a thing.
It's definitely a thing, and it's so good. It's even better with the shells and cheese, with the creamy cheese. Oh man, it's the best. It's the best.
That's not right. That's not right.
Look, you are a poor college kid right now, Wyatt. You better get used to combinations of food that you would never think of in your entire life, because you're about to have to eat a lot of it.
That's nasty.
I mean, okay. Well,
believe me, I've had I think the last 3 weeks, I have had noodles of some form probably 10 to 12 times.
So
that's all I cook.
What's your favorite meal since you've been on your own? It doesn't matter, Wyatt. We are at the end of the show. It is time to go home. Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Had to know that was coming.